Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
I'm Melina.
I'm Erica.
And we are the owners of Body Measure here in Winnipeg. And we have been asked to do a little conversation about health for the month of January.
And that's kind of apropos because January is when we start new goals. Everybody wants to lose weight or build muscle or improve on themselves, right? So, And this year especially because we've been locked in, we've been locked down and no gym equipment, no gyms to go to. The fridge is right there. It's like...
It's the worst case scenario.
It's the worst case scenario.
It's the perfect storm.
It is the perfect storm.
So I think kind of the goal of what we're going to try to achieve today is really just sort of narrow down all of that information about health to really the most important things that you should be focusing on. Where do you need to spend your time and your money to really get the most results and the
sort of your buck.
Come out of January a little healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we can start with, talking about body composition, because that's where it all stems from.
Yeah.
Knowing your body composition is huge. So at Body Measure, we do a DEXA scan, which is the only accurate way to actually see your body composition. So what it is a very low-dose x-ray of your entire body from head to toe. It generates an 8-page report of everything. So it's your bone density, it's your muscle mass, how much muscle do you have in each arm, each leg, in your core, it's how much internal fat you have, so that dangerous fat that wraps around your organs, how much subcutaneous fat, so fat on the outside of your body do you have. It's just basically the whole look at your body. And with that, you get a really good look at your body composition and you see, do I need to work on building muscle? Do I need to work on lowering carbohydrate intake because I've got a lot of visceral fat? Do I need to work on weight-bearing exercise to build bone density? So it's not about, basically what we're trying to say is not about weight.
Right.
Weight's irrelevant.
Yes. And so, we use the term body composition a lot, and that really is what are you made of? So your bones, your muscle, and body fat. Those are, and you got organs in there, that's what you're made of. So that's your composition. And those numbers are really important. And now the medicine and science has all come to agreement that the weight, how much you weigh, is not what is an indicator of your health. It is what is your composition? Do you have healthy bones? Do you have enough muscle? Do you have low fat around your internal organs? That is the biggest indicator for health. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So those components and how to make sure that all of the things that you're doing every day to try to be your healthiest you are actually getting you to a healthy body composition. And then we should also say that a healthy body composition and an ideal healthy really looks different on everyone.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If we take Erica and I, for example, we look different. We're two different people. I am ideal healthy in my body and Erica is ideal healthy in her body. So the great thing about focusing on what's going on the inside, it really helps to change that narrative about everybody needs to look this one specific way, and this one type of body is the healthy, and really that's not the case.
No, and in fact, it's actually can be the quite opposite.
Yes.
You could have someone come in who's 5'7", 120 pounds, and looks really, they must be healthy, they look fantastic. And we do their DEXA scan, and we find out they've got extremely low muscle mass. They're actually carrying extra internal fat, and their bone density is dangerously low. So it's really not anything to do with weight.
No.
And that's why those weight charts that you see online, or your doctor, some doctors still use them, they say, you're 5'7", you should weigh between 120 and 133. Those are just garbage.
Yes.
They really are, because muscle tissue is 4 times as dense as fat tissue. So you could have 2 people wearing the exact same size of clothes and be 20 pounds different in weight, one having much more muscle and bone density than the other.
Yeah. So let's talk about bone density, because that is something that I think for most women, we know in the back of our mind that it is something we need to kind of be aware of, but we sort of think, I only need to worry about it when I'm in my 60s or my 70s.
Totally.
But actually, bone health is something that you should be paying attention to really in your 30s and 40s.
Because for women, we stop really putting on bone density at about age 20, actually. So from 20 to 30, we kind of hold steady, and at 30, we start losing bone density. By the time we hit 45, we're losing 2 to 3% of our bone density every year. So from 45 to 65, we do this fairly drastic nosedive. So we need to kind of come into that premenopausal age with some healthy bone. So if you get a DEXA scan, if you're able to do that, you can see where you're at 30 or 35 and know what you need to do. But if you don't, you really have no idea what your bone density is. It's a silent disease.
Yes.
So the first sign of osteoporosis is a fracture. There's no pain involved.
Yeah. And really, there are a lot of different things that put you at greater risk for low bone density. So
yes.
we could talk about
one of the biggest things is being underweight. Mm-hmm. So if you're under 132 pounds, not that you shouldn't be under 132 pounds. Some people, whatever body composition they have, that's just A-okay. But it just does put you at risk. So under 132 pounds puts you at risk because you don't put enough pressure on the ground as you walk around to stimulate and develop bone. So basically, if you're, say, 120 pounds, you're coming into premenopause with sort of borderline bone density, just a little under healthy. What you need to do is really focus on weight training. Mm-hmm. And weight training, so that could mean holding a medicine ball, doing jumping squats. So getting extra weight on your bones with impact. So it might mean you're going for walks, but you're going for walks with a weighted vest just to give yourself a little more impact. Or it might be you're going to do some lunges, walking lunges, holding weights to give you impact as you lunge.
Yeah.
So it's really about the weight and the impact. That's what's going to build bone density.
Yeah.
And the other thing to be really careful of is if you are someone who, you know, you're slim, you love doing cardio, you feel really healthy, and you probably are cardiovascularly really healthy. If you're not weight training and you're under eating and doing a lot of cardio, you're not only losing body fat, you're going to eat away at muscle and bone. Mm-hmm. So that's why for women especially, working out and building muscle is huge.
Yeah. Huge. So that is definitely the next sort of risk factor, is that if you are consistently under eating, so you're always eating in a fairly significant calorie deficit, and you're working out. So if you're that, that individual, and really this is something that women have been told for a really long time, right? You just gotta you gotta kill it on the cardio, and you've got to eat salads all the way. Yeah. And so, and really those are the two worst things that you can do for your bone density, because the cardio is not going to help you maintain healthy bones, and under eating, if you're then exercising a lot and you're burning a lot of calories while you're doing that cardio, your body needs to pull that energy from somewhere, mm-hmm. and it can start to eat away at the bone. So you've got to make sure that you are eating enough, so you are fueling yourself for that activity you're doing, and then bring in some weight training. Like weight training is probably the most important thing that women can do for their health.
It really is, because the more muscle we build, the more we're protecting our bones as well. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, if we're going down that road with muscles, sarcopenia is a huge thing for women.
Yeah. So we should tell people what sarcopenia is.
So sarcopenia is basically loss of muscle as you get older. And there are certain levels of muscle. So on a DEXA scan, it can show you, your athlete muscle, or your above athlete, or your healthy normal, or your fitness, or your low muscle mass, or your sarcopenic. Mm-hmm. So if you get down to that sarcopenic area, that's when, as you get into old age, so 65, 70, that's still young, whatever. Yeah. Just getting out of a chair is going to be difficult because you don't have enough muscle.
Yeah. Lifting a bag of groceries from the floor.
Just daily tasks.
Lifting your leg up to get into the bathtub. All of those regular activities of daily living, you're no longer able to do. So if you're out and about and you see an older individual that really looks frail, they're sarcopenic at that point. And that is a condition that can be avoided if early on in life you're focusing on maintaining and building muscle.
Yes, because we can lose 10% of our muscle mass every decade after the age of 40 if we are not trying to build muscle. Mm-hmm. We do that. And that it slows your metabolism. So then you end up getting, extra fat, and it's just kind of, it all goes together.
Yeah. All the bone, the muscle, and the fat all work together to either make you healthier or, bring about a lot of different chronic health conditions that can impact your daily life.
And the other great thing is the more muscle you have, the more calories you'll burn at rest.
Yes.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus.
Yeah. So We're going to circle back. So bone, you want to make sure that if you weigh less than 132 pounds, that's where you naturally sit. You want to make sure that you're incorporating strength training into your physical activity routine. If you are consistently under eating and you're still doing a lot of exercise,
A lot of cardio.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting in enough protein and enough calories every day. And then the other one is smoking.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a killer on the bone density.
Yeah. I don't think people really realize we always talk about lung health with smoking and cancer, but the bone health and smoking is a massive one.
It is crazy. We've had some men and women come in who have been smoking like 20, 25 years. And I actually had a 38-year-old man the other day before lockdown. They came in and he was borderline osteoporotic, like osteoporosis. And he was a big, husky guy. Like, there's no way he should have had osteoporosis. And then he told me he's been smoking since a teenager, a pack a day. Yeah. It just deteriorates the bones like crazy. So that's really something to think about. If somebody smokes as a teenager up through their 20s when they're actually supposed to be building bone, they come in at a dangerous spot with bone density. So that's even more important for them. The other thing that affects bone density is celiac disease. People with celiac disease are really prone to loss of bone. So smoking, alcohol, and extreme amounts of caffeine can also affect bone density.
Yeah. Also, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, you're at a greater risk of developing low bone density. So we know what it is. We know what we kind of should do. But if you do have low bone density, what impact does that have on your life? Like, we kind of don't really think, oh, well, I'm just at a greater risk of fracture. But actually, it's really beyond that. It impacts your mobility, so your ability to move around. You're terrified to, walk or outside in the snow.
Life expectancy.
Yes.
So 28% of women who break their hip after the age of 50 die in the first year after that break.
Yeah.
So it is massive on life expectancy.
So it really is the bones, we don't think about them often. We just sort of kind of take them for granted that they're the thing that are allowing us to move around. But really, we need to protect our bones. And as women, we are at a greater risk of developing osteoporosis or osteopenia due to lowering of the bone density. So that's the big one that you want to kind of take away from today is that it doesn't matter how old you are. At every stage in your life, you really should be focusing on maintaining healthy bones and making sure that you're doing everything you can to avoid osteoporosis.
Yeah, getting enough calcium and vitamin D are also key.
Definitely. Okay, so then we touched a little bit about muscle, but I think that's an important one because I think for a lot of women, we're not really thinking about, I need to build muscle, or maybe you're worried that you're going to get too bulky. And we've heard clients say that, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get all like muscular. When in reality, the chances of that happening are pretty slim.
Well, you need testosterone for that. We do have some testosterone. Some women do have more of an ability to build muscle than others, for sure. But to build really bulky muscle, you need lots of calories and you need testosterone. So if you're just an average woman, to really bulk up, it's actually difficult to do.
So there is like a maximum amount of muscle that you can naturally put on in your lifetime as a woman.
And it ranges, but on average, a woman can put on to 25 pounds naturally of muscle. A man can put up to 50 pounds of extra muscle on their frame. Of course, there's steroids that can add more than that, but it's really, you can't really bulk up. I mean, if you're gaining fat and muscle, then often people think they are bulking up because they're just getting bigger in general. But muscle is so important for women. Keep the metabolism going. Protect the bones. And stay away from sarcopenia.
Yeah, exactly. So strength training. I would say if you only come away from one thing, if you only pull one thing away from our chat today is how important lifting weights is for women. Yeah, and definitely. That really the chance of you, getting big and bulky is pretty much non-existent. So it's not something that you need to be concerned about if that is one of those things that's kind of stopping you from doing it.
Definitely.
And then what you say, like 3 times per week, three sessions per week is kind of a good rule of thumb, about 30 minutes.
Yeah, weight training. I mean, it depends on the person. If you want to go 6 days a week, go for it. But kind of a minimum of 2 to 3 days for sure.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah. And then when we are doing strength training, it really is that idea of lifting to failure.
Yeah. So if you're lifting a 3-pound dumbbell and you're just going up and down, up and down, up and down with no real tension, you're doing cardio. So you want to make sure you're lifting that. If you're doing, say, 3 sets of 10 bicep curls, by the last 3 of the third set, it's, ooh, that's tough to finish, because that's lifting to failure. You want to make sure you actually feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next day you're kind of like, oh yeah, I can feel that I worked that. And then it's important to give those muscles at least 24 hours to recover. So you don't want to do biceps, every day, even 48 hours to recover, if you can kind of alternate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that you should also be increasing your weight as you progress through your plan,
once
right?
it starts to get easy, then you can add more weight.
Yeah, and we see that quite often here, as people will come in and especially if they're doing I often find when they're doing like a circuit training type of thing, and they're like, well, I lift weights, 3 days a week, but they're low muscle, and so you're thinking, okay, what's happening there? That here they are actively going to the gym regularly, and they are putting in some effort, but they're not seeing any results.
And it's definitely helping them. It's definitely a positive. But if you really want to put on muscle or gain some more muscle, you need to lift to failure. So you usually don't get that in a circuit class.
No. So lifting to failure, and then food, right? It always comes back to food.
Yes.
So
getting enough protein.
Yeah.
And not under eating.
Yes.
Not that you need to overeat either.
No.
But that whole I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day is dangerous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you really have to eat to your goals, right? So the way you would eat if you're trying to put on muscle is different than the way you would eat if you were trying to lose body fat, right? So you have to eat to your goal, and protein plays a really big role in that, especially for women. I think that a lot of women really undereat on the protein.
Yeah. And it's hard to get enough protein in sometimes.
You
really have to make an effort to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we kind of usually talk about, having a source of protein at every meal, and making sure that, when you look down at your plate, you can easily identify that protein. Like, oh, okay, that is a good quality source of protein. I've got eggs for breakfast, or I've got, a chicken breast on my salad, or I've got
and even saying, if you are 130 pounds, get 130 grams of protein in. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an easy
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really important. So maintaining your muscle health is going to be, make sure that you're doing the strength training, make sure that you're eating enough. So maybe we should talk a little bit about that. So eating, and that there really is this fine balance between eating the right amount of food for you, versus overeating or undereating, right?
Yeah. Knowing your metabolism can be huge for that.
Yes.
So we do that here, testing of the metabolism. So we have what's called a core medical machine, and we analyze your oxygen output for about 15 minutes, and then we can tell you exactly how many calories your body is burning at rest. Or you can go to a chart and get an estimation online, that kind of thing. So, and it just depends. So sometimes, I run 18% fast, Melina runs 12% slow. So that's genetics.
Yes. Some of us win and some of us don't.
So it just depends. It depends. We've had people running 27% slow. Often when we see that, we tell them to go see their doctor, make sure their thyroid is okay, because it can be caused from other things than just genetics. Mm-hmm. And then we'll see people that are running 38% fast. But those people are usually very muscular and very fit. Yeah. So it's interesting.
And that actually, that's a really good point to make, is that when we were talking before about the importance of muscle, is the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. Yeah. And so, if you are focused just on losing weight, right, just the weight of you, the weight on the scale, you can be losing, most likely you're losing muscle as well as body fat. And so then your metabolism actually slows down through that process.
Mm-hmm. The coolest thing is when someone gets a DEXA scan and they come back after 3 months and maybe their weight has stayed pretty much the same, but they've lost 5 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle. So we can actually say, yeah, you didn't lose any weight on the scale, but you actually lost 5 pure pounds of fat and gained muscle. So that's the body composition part.
Yeah, so that just shows, again, another example of how what you weigh is really irrelevant,
It really is irrelevant.
Yeah. So focusing on bone health. focusing on building muscle and maintaining muscle for your long-term health, and that those are goals that we should have, at every stage of our life. And it's not something that we should think, oh, I don't need to worry about that until I'm in my 50s or whatever.
Sure.
It needs to be goals that you incorporate from the beginning.
Yeah, and then I would say the number one thing that we look at.
What is it?
Well, don't get me wrong, bone density is super important, and
Yeah.
muscle is super important, but visceral fat.
Yes.
Visceral fat is, it's a killer. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so what is visceral fat?
Visceral fat is the internal fat that's behind your abdominal cavity that wraps around your heart, your liver, your kidney, all your organs and your intestines, and it puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, gastric reflux, a number of things. So getting rid of visceral fat is key. And you don't know how much visceral fat you have necessarily. With a DEXA scan, we actually measure exactly how much. So 0 to 2 pounds is considered good health, to have 0 to 2 pounds of visceral fat. Under 1 is ideal. We have had some people that have 0 visceral fat, and awesome, way to go.
Yeah.
Out of our 3,000 clients, we've had maybe 23, 24.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Not many.
It's a small group. They're very elite.
But it is quite common to have under 1 pound.
Yes.
That's very doable.
Yes.
But then on the other end of the scale, we've had people up to 11 pounds of visceral fat. So in that case, when we see their images, their diaphragm under the lungs is actually pushed up with visceral fat. So it causes the lung capacity to be shortened. So it looks like they have tiny little lungs. And it also looks like their heart is enlarged. And often it could also be enlarged because it does put them at risk for cardiac issues. But it squishes up the heart, squishes up the lungs. So and it can cause gastric reflux because of that. So it's putting pressure underneath there and causing food to come up through your esophagus when you lie down, especially.
And then, sort of regular things that you used to do, climbing a flight of stairs or walking a neighborhood block, all of a sudden you're feeling very, very breathless because that lung capacity is decreased.
Yeah.
And so it's really there's only so much room in your abdominal cavity, and your body unfortunately doesn't know when there's no more room. And so when you're eating these foods that contribute to visceral fat, your body just packs that fat in and around your internal organs and just takes up all that space. And so like Erica says, decreasing the lung capacity, and then also stretching out your abdominal wall, so it actually changes the structure of your abdomen and can push out the rib cage as well. So what used to be kind of sitting like this now is all of a sudden like that. And then
and it also fills up the liver with fat.
Yes.
So it replaces liver tissue with fat tissue.
Yeah. And then you get non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is really becoming an epidemic in North America right now. 30% of North Americans have a fatty liver. And you kind of think, do I really need to worry about that? And oh yeah, do you? So you cannot live without your liver. And at a certain, once you have damaged the liver up to a certain point, so once 75% of your liver is fat, you are now at this stage where it's no longer reversible, and then you can develop cirrhosis of the liver and lead to liver failure. And then at that point, you would need a liver transplant or...
Yeah, but the good news is the liver is quite resilient.
Yes.
So,
I'm like,
silver lining. Oh my God. The liver regenerates itself very quickly.
Yes.
So if you have not reached that high damage, high scar tissue, basically what it is you get so much scar tissue that blood can no longer flow through your liver, so it dies. But if you haven't reached that point, and you start changing your diet and exercising and doing things to get rid of that fat in your liver, it can reverse itself so quickly. So things that cause fatty liver.
Well, let's talk about, so high amounts of visceral fat, so all of that fat around your internal organs leads to a fatty liver. So let's talk about visceral fat first, and then, because that does impact the health of the liver. Yeah. So what causes a high amount of visceral fat?
So a high amount of visceral fat. So the number one thing is diet. That is the number one cause of visceral fat. So whenever we eat something that has high carbohydrates in it, we get a spike of insulin. And insulin basically takes it turns your body turns those carbs into sugar. Insulin takes the sugar to your bloodstream for energy. Anything you don't use is then stored first as glycogen in your muscles, but we only have small storages for that. And then the rest is stored as fat in your liver, and your liver and your abdominal cavity. So basically, it's a fat storing hormone. So if we are eating carbs at breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then a snack, then dinner, then a snack, we've had all these shots of insulin all day long. So fat storing, fat storing, fat storing, fat storing. So that's why eating a lower carb diet can really, really help lower that visceral fat. And binge eating also will do that, because you're just getting tons of insulin excreted as you're binge eating. Eating a diet that's high in fat and carbs is the worst. So when we say carbs, we mean sugar, because all carbs turn to sugar in the body. So that is the big thing. So you want to make sure, if you have a lot of truncal fat, a larger belly, if you carry your fat in your belly versus your hips, let's say, because you can have lots of booty and hips, and that's not going to hurt your health.
No, it has no impact on your health.
No, it's that internal fat that is the killer. So if you do have that, then you know you need to be eating a lower carb diet. So at least lowering your carbs to 20% max of your daily intake.
And the other thing is that some of us are more genetically predisposed to internalizing fat, so holding visceral fat. So if we take you and I, for example, if you have a high carb meal, a high calorie meal, your metabolism actually revs up, and your body then burns those extra calories. But and really, in all honesty, you're like the 1% of the population. The majority of people don't have that, right? Like it's the body that holds on to those extra calories is more the norm. For me, if I eat a meal that's high in carbohydrates or high in sugar and carbohydrates, a high calorie meal, my body will go, oh wow, look, all this extra energy, we're going to save it for that day that we're marooned on the desert island. But that never happens. So some of us have to be a lot more careful than others, right? And that is really something that's super important to touch upon, is that all of our bodies are so different, and we each need something really different. And you have to kind of pay attention to your body genetically. What are you predisposed to do?
Definitely. And then the other thing about visceral fat that we haven't really touched on enough is it is the precursor to type 2 diabetes. So when we're getting that insulin release, when we're eating carbohydrates, if we're eating carbs all the time and just getting bombarded with insulin, our body starts to go, whoa, 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 too much insulin coming my way. I'm gonna stop sensing this insulin. I'm gonna resist it. Hence insulin resistance. So then your pancreas is like, well, body's not sensing this insulin I'm giving off. I better get off more insulin. So this fat storing hormone is just on overdrive. Your body's now in insulin resistance. The next step from that is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes is reversible. Okay, so visceral fat's reversible, type 2 diabetes is reversible, all with changes in diet. But it's a massive, massive issue.
Absolutely. So the big takeaway here is that if you're always eating, you're eating lots of meals.
That whole
every day.
5 meals a day thing.
No.
It's not good.
Or like 3 meals and or six small meals or whatever. For the majority of people, that is not the ideal way to eat. Definitely for elite athletes, people that are, performing at a really high level, yes, you need to be fueling your body consistently. But for the average person that, goes to the gym after work, you do not need to be eating.
You don't need to have a pre-workout snack and a post-workout snack. Please don't do that if you're trying to lose body fat.
No, you really don't, because your body is then, you've released that, you have that big insulin release, and now you're in fat storage mode. So if you're constantly eating, you're just always in fat storage mode, and you're not in fat burning mode, even though you're working out hard and you're trying to make the right food choices. You're not going to achieve your goal.
Like the whole idea of carving up before a workout is crazy, because basically what your body does is that those carbs turn to sugar. Your body uses some of that sugar for the workout, and the rest it stores as fat. So it's
if your goal in working out is not just, besides just general well-being, if your goal is to try to lose body fat, then doing a big carb up before a workout is not going to help you achieve that. If your goal is
just building muscle,
and doing like, basically building muscle, then yeah, you should do the carb up. But if your goal is to lose body fat, then
and again,
don't do it.
If you're an elite athlete, if you're a teenager who has no issue with body fat,
yes,
or you're an ectomorphic body, you don't put on fat easily, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're talking about people that are worried about gaining that truncal fat around the belly, or if you already have it.
Exactly. So to make sure that we keep visceral fat low, we want to really, 3 meals a day, or less if that works for you. Keeping the carbs low, keeping the sugars low. So you're basically focusing your diet on good, healthy sources of protein. You've got high quality dairy products. You've got nuts and seeds, lots and lots of vegetables, and some fruit. And that, you're really kind of avoiding the white bread and the cookies and the cake and the chips and the muffins
donuts,
and all that stuff.
Like that.
Yeah, because that's not going to help you achieve your goals. So really just by making that one small change to lowering your carbs to around 20%, you can see a big difference.
Yeah. And we see it all the time. It's quite amazing. In fact, I had a client text me the other day, and she said, I'm working out every day so hard, and I'm eating super clean.
Clean eating.
And she said, but I cannot lose a pound. I am not losing any fat. I am so frustrated. I said, let's lower your carbohydrates. Let's eat the same amount of calories, but let's do, just for an example, 12% of your diet coming from carbs, 63 from good healthy fat, and 25 from protein. Well, in 2 weeks, she texted me. She said, I had no idea that this was so easy. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm losing body fat. I am just shocked that all I had to do was change my macros. So sometimes it's just a little tweak to what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's actually a really important thing, is that oftentimes people will come in and they're not happy with where they are. They're here. They want to be over here. And they think, I got to do this massive overhaul to my entire life. Everything's got to change. And in reality, it's usually just like, maybe 2 little things you need to kind of just switch up a little bit. And really...
and it's 80% food.
Oh, 80.
Probably more.
It's like 95% food.
It really is.
Not to say that exercise is not important, because it really is. It's super important. Like we talked about early on, exercise is the key to healthy bones. It's the key to muscle, which those 2 things are so important for our health. So not only by doing exercise and strength training, we are supporting healthy bones, we are supporting our muscle, but we're also metabolism, making sure that, we're still burning those calories, and just our general, mental health and well-being, right? Getting outside, for a walk, you come back, you feel great, you're invigorated,
but if your
just
goal is losing fat, you just need to know that it's 80% diet.
90%.
We believe it's 90, but
other
people say 80. We don't want to tick anybody off. So 80% what you eat. Abs are made in the kitchen.
That's right. That's right. That's a very common thing. So muscles are built at the gym, and getting lean happens in the kitchen. Yeah. So that's really important. So far we've got look at our bones, make sure that we're paying attention to that early on in life, not something that we just want to think about when we're in our 60s and 70s. Make sure. Yes, exactly. Because that is the thing. Building bone density is a very, very hard thing to do.
And it gets harder the older you get.
Yes.
So if you start at 40 to try to build bone density, you can put on like 1% a year if you're working really hard and doing the right things. But if you start at 65, it's a little trickier. Yeah.
So make sure that you're supporting the health of your bones early on. Make sure that you're supporting, muscle growth and maintenance. Make sure that you're eating enough and that you're incorporating a good source of protein
and good healthy fat. Don't be scared of fat.
No. And we're not talking about like chowing down on, a pound of bacon, but you're getting like avocados and the, fat in the egg yolk is a great source of fat. So really healthy fats are super, super key. And Erica's right. Do not be afraid of that, because the fat and then some protein, that is what's going to keep you full from one meal to the next. So that's really key. So I guess the 3 biggest takeaways would be bone health, muscle,
and visceral fat.
Yeah.
Keeping that in check.
Yeah. Something actually, something that some people don't really think about, or especially now as, it's January and everybody's really focusing on like, oh, I need to, I'm going to start my new fitness routine and my goal is to lose weight and that kind of thing. And you need to make sure that you're losing the right kind of weight. Yeah. We say that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Meaning that if you, like we talked about before, if you're under eating, you could be losing, well, you will be. If you're just dieting and not exercising, whatever loss you see on the scale will usually be about 30% loss of muscle and the rest fat. Mm-hmm. So that's where that exercise component comes in there. If you want to maintain your muscle and lose fat, it's important to keep exercising.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the muscle is trying to maintain as much muscle as possible is what's going to help sort of lessen the decrease in your resting metabolic rate. So as you lose weight, your metabolism, your calorie needs decrease. Yeah. So the amount of calories that you needed when you were at your highest versus after you've lost 30 pounds, it's less, like significantly less.
Because you don't have as much of your body to feed. So people always think someone who's 350 pounds, let's say, well, they must have a super low metabolism.
Yes.
Super low resting metabolic rate. Where in reality, they're most likely needing 2,500 to 3,000 calories just to maintain their weight.
Yeah.
And that's because they have more body to feed, right? So they lose 100 pounds, they now need 1,800 calories to maintain their weight. So that's why so many people bounce back up.
Yes. So that it's one of the biggest culprits of regaining weight after weight loss is that you are eating at your old metabolism needs. You're eating at your old calorie needs when now as you've gotten physically smaller, you just need less. And then if you haven't been focusing on trying to maintain as much muscle as possible, your calorie needs could decrease even more. Yeah. So by focusing on maintaining muscle, you can sort of, you can eat at a reasonable rate at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully this doesn't sound so complicated to everyone.
Do you think it's sounding? I don't know. You just gotta like lower the carbs, do a little strength training, and get out for a good walk every day.
There you go.
Yeah,
perfect.
And get some sleep. Sleep is really important too.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the big thing. So this January, you want to set yourself some goals. 1 is going to be lower the carbs. 2 is going to be incorporate some kind of strength training into your routine. 3, get outside, go for a walk.
Yeah, just move.
Yeah, move your body.
Move every day.
Yeah, move every day and make sure that you're prioritizing sleep. So
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed it. And
yeah, if you have any questions, you can always email us
at
info@bodymeasure.ca and check out our website. Give us a call.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.